Now let's talk about the extensions. Now, in order to make sure that you understand the extension, first of all, I need to break it down to a very simpler level. Let's say we got a data type out there in language Swift and we want to extend the functionality of that data type, simply assuming a string or an integer. Let's say the integers have some functionality, like we can convert them into the float, or likewise we have got some functionality with the string. Like we can convert the string into the lowercase or the uppercase, or maybe some other functions as well. But we are not satisfied with that functionality. We want to append that and we want to add some extra modification that might be useful for our application. So how we can do that? Now, extension is one of the approach for doing so. So let's talk about them. Then I'll again disclose a few of the things about the extension which are general misconception, as Swift is quite new and they are obvious. So I have got an extension. This is how you declare at the line number 5. We got a keyword extension. And what I'm trying to do in this code, I have already pre-baked the code. And these are really simple examples. I want that my integer class should have an additional functionality to check whether the number is a prime or not. And likewise, I have got a string function as well. I'll talk about it in a moment. So I want to extend the functionality of the integer. So I say extension for int. Now inside that, what I'm doing is I'm declaring a function. Now the function is simply func and it says func and it checks is prime, and then I'm defining a function which expects an integer data type, and which is integer num, and it returns a boolean, just true and false, whether the number is prime or not. And thereafter it's just a logic and nothing else. Now obviously, since I am expecting that it should return a boolean value, then I'll return to the true, and that's it. Now I will not go much into how we can define whether a number is a prime or not, whether a number is even or not, because that's a really basic one. And if you are not at all comfortable with that, definitely you want to check out our C programming course from scratch, and that's a really good one for these kinds of concepts, like how to change in the lowercase without usage of functions, how to convert uppercase, these prime numbers, printing patterns, matrices, and all of such examples are basic there out in the C course. Okay, coming back out here. So we got a functionality being defined, and this simply says that return true, if positive, return false, if negative, and that's it. That just gives us. Now coming at the bottom, here in the line number 40, we can see that we are defining a var num3, and I know that 3 is a prime number. So if I say number.isPrime, and notice it is expecting a simple integer as a parameter, and that is why I'm passing it. Yes, we can define for multiple parameters, no parameters, and it's all up to you. Extension is really powerful in that case. So we are defining 3 and passing it, and simply notice that we have changed out here. Now a lot of people say that why we have extension, can we do that in a function? Yes, of course you can do that in a functional, but extension is something which is important for Apple development, because you have got lots of classes and you want to extend some limited functionality to them. But of course you will say that, can we inherit those classes and can define our more functionality in that? Extension is way more different than the simple inheritance. In the inheritance, you got a lots of initializers, deinitializers, and a lot of concepts are applied in that. But that's not the case with the extensions. And most important part about the extension is when you don't have the access to the source code, like I don't know what's going on behind the integer or maybe the string. Those are the base classes. I cannot actually mess around with them. So I just want to extend the functionality. If definitely it would have been any other class, I could have gone for and could have implemented as extension or simply inherited them. But I would like to go with the inheritance or simply extension approach when I don't have access to the source code, and I just want to extend a limited functionality as it looks like an inbuilt functionality. And you will understand it more in the string example. Now, okay, integer example covered up. Now let's talk about the string. Now, what was in my mind behind creating this application? Let's say a user writes an article and I want to make a blog post for it. And what my base idea is that whatever the headline the user is giving for its documentation, I want to convert that headline into a link URL. And in order to do so, obviously the user is going to have a lots of spaces in it, like a blog about getting started with Swift. and so on. So he will definitely separate it out with the space, but I want to simply remove those spaces and I want to fill them with the dashes because it would be a better SEO approach. Obviously at the end I could have approached like with the .html and all of that, but I'll not go into deep with that. So what I'm doing is I'm extending the string with the help of extension. I'm making my name for the function as URL maker, which is a string, which will return as a string type. Notice no parameter is required in that case. So again, feel free to have parameter or not parameter, is up to you. And later I'm saying that string array, and now this components separated by string is an inbuilt function for our class, which is defined in the UI kit already. So I do not need to worry about. It simply takes an argument and it stores them in an array, and it is separated by a space. And notice the array is being defined out here. So the separator is a space, and so it makes a comma after every word. And our initial URL is blank, and we are repeating for entire loop, and we are simply replacing spaces with the dashes, and that's it. Or simply saying we are linking up our array into a single string and separated by a dash. That's it. But yes, there is a problem. I'll talk about it later on. Right now just focus on the working. So I'm saying that it returns a URL, and notice in the line number 44 I got a blog title as a blog about getting started with the Swift. That's it. And then I says blog title dot URL maker, like dot convert into lowercase or dot uppercase and all of that. So we are converting it simply, and notice it converts a blog about getting started with Swift. So these are some of the functionality, and believe me, you will be spending a lot of time with the extension because there are a few classes like base classes in which you are interested to have the functionality in your code, and simply like UI buttons and all of that, but you want to do something extra as an inbuilt functionality. Again, extension is really the marvelous piece. Now talking about a little bit problem and your assignment as well, although it's a simple one. Now notice out here that when I say something like this, there is a trailing dash out there. Now implement a simple conditional which simply checks if there is a last element in my string. It do not implement the last dash, or you could have replaced it by .html or .php, or any extension would work. Simply it's just a matter of fact. And again, it's a really simple exercise for you. I am expecting a lot of people will simply cover that up, and as soon as you do it, make sure that I always keep an eye for all of my courses, how many students are posting answers and all of that. So I'll expect answers from a huge community, whether someone has posted it or not. You simply want to have an exact idea, or you have some different idea, whatever it is, please post it in the question answer section so that I can understand and can relate your progress and can redefine my video sections about getting started. Again, teaching is not at all a one-way process. You need to make sure that you respond to everything which I say in the video. Okay, with that, let's say that extension is covered up, and now let's move ahead.